Get started, Morris County Fiscal Court, June 7th, 2016. On the guest list, Russ Pogue, Big Rivers Electric Corp., and Kyle Johnson with Harvest Energy. Gentlemen, if y'all want to step up to the podium, and
Sure enough.
if you don't speak into the mic, our mic warden over here will let you know.
Great. Well, my name is Russ Pogue. I'm with Big Rivers Electric in Henderson, Kentucky. Big Rivers is the wholesale power supplier to Jackson Purchase Energy. We have Mr. Bearden, who is on the board at Jackson Purchase, and Mr. Cannon, who is the CEO of Jackson Purchase with us, and Kyle Johnson with Harvest Energy is our technical advisor for today's discussion. Big Rivers is proposing out at the Mike Miller Park to install a 10 kW solar array, solar generator, just inside the entrance. There, if you're going into the park, just off to the left, there's kind of a little nook where the fence goes around. And what we're proposing is to just install the 10 kW array, actually 2 arrays, and then run underground electricity to it. And what that would do is when the sun's out, it's going to produce energy, and it's going to be connected back to the Jackson Purchase distribution system and supply energy for that purpose. The arrays themselves, it's not necessarily a financial decision. We're not doing this to improve our economics. What we're doing this for is to provide a demonstration project and an educational project to the schools in the area and to other civic groups if it's not involved with the school directly. Solar is beginning to take the costs are coming down for solar. The ability and the technology of solar is playing a bigger part in some other parts of the country. And so our assumption is, eventually it's going to make it here. And the kids that are in high school now may be the generation that sees solar integrated into our electric system. But we also want the kids to understand exactly how it works. We want the future mechanical and electrical and architectural engineers to be able to go up and look at the technology, look at the way it works, how it communicates, how it makes power, and see the production profile on it. It will not only generate power, but will also put communication systems in the array that allow the students to monitor its production, to calculate cost-benefit analysis, and to do everything that they're studying in high school. Jackson Purchase doesn't serve the Marshall County High School, and so we picked an area where we think that they're going to be allowed to access, and just to make sure that whether it's the junior high or the high school, Boy Scouts, whoever might be interested in it can go and visit and take a look at how it's installed, how it operates.
Great. I know we went out about 2 weeks ago with the park director and all the parties involved, and the location is not going to cause any issues as far as access to the park. The educational piece is nice, knowing too that the surrounding counties that have the need for the educational piece can come to our park.
Absolutely.
So it opens up opportunities for us to have events and have those school systems come into our park and accommodate them. So,
Can I answer any questions?
I'll just echo what the judge said, and also the price is right, too.
Absolutely. So it'll be a Big River Zone facility. We'll lease the ground and make sure that it's maintained. We'll make sure that the fencing is all cohesive. It will be fenced off, but access will be granted by the parks.
Maybe I missed it, was there a projection of a date?
Yeah, we are a publicly regulated utility, so we will have to go to the commission. That's probably about a 6-month process to get that approval. I don't foresee it having any problems. It's just a regulatory process. And then we are applying for a grant to help us out with the cost, and that's going to take a couple of months. So we're probably looking at 9-10 months for us to, once we have approval, then we'll go through the process, and then we'll pull the trigger on the installation, and that'll take about a month, I would imagine.
And are you needing today the court's approval so that you can move forward on that?
Yes, please.
Is there any issues that you have, Judge Fowles?
No,
You're good with it?
like Judge Neal said, we went out there and everything looks good, and really where the location, is right in the area where we're looking at some future development, where we have that area where right now we're doing a lot of fill-in and things of that nature, so I think it's a very good starting point for us to be able to do a lot of things out there.
You'll be managing the access? Is that,
We'll get that, worked out, yes.
okay,
In fact, we don't think there's gonna be any problem with the access at all.
okay.
We may have to have a little help from the road department.
All right.
Appreciate you choosing Marshall County.
Well, thank you. I think that Mr. Bearden and Mr. Cannon had a lot to do with that, so we called them and said, where do you want us to put it? And they definitely suggested the Mike Miller part.
That doesn't surprise me about Lee Bearden. He's very active in his community, and we appreciate him for a long time.
And we certainly appreciate him at Big Rivers. He's been on our board and a good friend of ours.
Well, I appreciate the presentation. I know everyone got the material, so. Gentlemen, I'd entertain.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
sir.
Russ.
We'll move on. Eric Brady with Enterprise is with us this morning. Morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me back today. So we've had several discussions about the county's vehicles, and what I have today sitting in front of you guys, you have a summary with some Excel spreadsheets and then a binded few pages with just an overview of Enterprise. The first one talking about total cost of ownership of vehicles. So we have discussed driving down fleet costs for the vehicles by looking at every aspect from the buy to driving down maintenance, making the vehicles more fuel efficient, and also selling vehicles better, just in an attempt to lower your total cost of ownership. Also have some references for some other counties who we're working with currently, and some other government entities in Kentucky, an overview of some of the website tools that you guys would have access to right now, to just look at what your fleet is costing you in real time as far as maintenance and fuel goes, some information you guys may not have access to currently. Also a case study for a similar size fleet in California. Most importantly, the summary page is just a summary. The first page is the numbers for the vehicles that we've targeted for this year. So we've talked about 2 vehicles on the light duty side. There's a road department vehicle, a GIS vehicle, which is a Dodge Grand Caravan. We'd be replacing with the Ford Taurus. And then 6 sheriff vehicles, including the upfit. You see in year 1 what your total cash outlay would be, considering you would be paying for the upfit separately. So I've included years 2, 3, and 4 as well, and 5 to show you your costs going forward for those 6 vehicles. And this is just to show you, an example of what your, cash outlay would be in year 1 versus going out and purchasing these 6 vehicles and upfitting them the way that you would need them. So the purpose of today is, to get your all's thoughts on how you would want to move forward and answer any questions about the enterprise vehicles and also the pursuit vehicles that would go through KCO.
I know, Eric, we've had you here before. Actually, I think you gave a presentation to us, and then we had a meeting in my office. The other thing that's included is the full maintenance program, which, if you can explain a little bit about that.
Sure. So on the light-duty vehicles moving forward, Enterprise has the ability to fix maintenance costs on light-duty vehicles and make it an operating expense for the county. We know how much it's going to cost to maintain a Ford F-250 over 50,000 miles. So what we do for you guys is basically in this scenario would be about $50 a month. You guys would pay Enterprise $50 a month, and that includes all scheduled and unscheduled maintenance. So basically, the way the program works is when you guys are ready for service, you would go to any shop. I know we talked about Marshall County Tire or any other vendor that's convenient for your employees who are out in the field. They would get their work done. Enterprise audits all of the work that's done on the vehicles. And it's a very streamlined maintenance program that some of the other counties are taking advantage of right now. In addition to the fixed maintenance program on the existing vehicles, what we really want to do is start tracking what you guys are spending on the existing vehicles so we can get an idea of what you guys are spending and where are areas of opportunity to reduce costs, whether it's defleeting a little bit. I know you guys have 37 vehicles in fleet right now, and just by meeting, we were able to sort out 7 vehicles that are just being underutilized. So we're going to be paying attention to more things like that and just some general opportunities to drive down your overall cost.
And in terms of fleet management, we've got 37 vehicles. Enterprise has how many vehicles?
So Enterprise, right now, we manage about 2 million vehicles.
2 million vehicles.
In North America. So basically, the value proposition that we present is you guys have the ability as an entity with 37 vehicles to tap into the resources of a company that manages 2 million vehicles. So we've developed those resources on the Enterprise rent-a-car side and the fleet management side.
I know I've spoken to some of the other counties, actually Harlan County, I spoke to them. They utilize Enterprise Fleet Management, and it's a new judge executive there, and they are happy with their service. I know there were some issues. We did talk about that with the manufacturer as far as the model year. It was the same thing that we had talked about during the bid process, but making sure that that vehicle, once it goes to the manufacturer, that it gets to us when we need it.
That's right.
But I think getting ahead of that, we can minimize that.
Yeah, so logistically, we do want to make things as smooth as possible for you guys. Coordinating aftermarket installation, whether it's you guys picking who you want to upfit the vehicles, or if you choose to go with who Enterprise recommends, we want to make that as streamlined as possible. But to your point, yes, we do work with some other counties, and we've been doing this on the government side in the state of Kentucky for about 2 years now. On the commercial side, we've been doing it for about 10 years. So it's relatively new to the government scene in Kentucky. So right now we are, making our rounds and meeting with all the counties and making sure that you guys know what you're able to take advantage of in a partnership with us.
Eric, these 5 counties that are listed that you do business with, are all of them basically been with you a couple of years?
Yes, sir. Some of them are more recent. The most recent one, Pulaski County, they just came on board last month. Carter County is recent. I would say, I think Boyd County was the first one to come on board a couple of years ago.
Okay. I know the scope has changed. I know when you were here last time, there was like 18 vehicles, and now we understand that we can include the police fleet in there, the sheriff's fleet in there.
Yes, sir.
Which doubles the scope of the project or nearly doubles it.
Right.
Okay, Ed, Ed, could you explain that? That works through the Kentucky League of Cities. Is that?
KCO.
Okay, excuse me, I'm going back in time. Yeah, KCO is our insurer as far as that goes. We couldn't do that before. That was information I got last time when you were here. You tell us the process of how we couldn't do it then and can do it now, or?
Sure.
What?
Basically, KCO is the financial solution for the pursuit vehicles. So Enterprise is not able to provide financing for pursuit vehicles for insurance purposes. So what's going to happen is KCO provides you guys the funding for those vehicles, and we apply the same proactive management to those vehicles as we're going to on the light-duty vehicles.
Okay.
One of the good things that I picked up on in your literature was we've been reactive in regards to our fleet maintenance, getting vehicles back into our fleet maintenance, and by having a proactive approach, we can monitor our fleet maintenance and our vehicles that we're bringing in. It's hard to budget for vehicles when we're reactive, and I think this is a good budget model to at least start out with.
Yeah. When you're able to get your hands on the fleet and you can get rid of the ones that, the excess vehicles that you guys just aren't using, you cut costs that way, but also when you get on a more organized replacement plan. I know in 2017, we would be looking at 7 vehicles and 7 more each year moving forward. And just by doing that, you're able to, like you said, stay proactive and know where your costs are, and just keep your hands wrapped around.
That was my next question. So am I correct to look at this as each additional year, 7 vehicles?
Yes, sir. That's our recommendation. And Enterprise's purpose is to give you guys the information that you need. At the end of the day, you guys make the decision on what vehicles you do or don't want to pull the trigger on. We're just going to show you what's the most cost-effective route to take.
How does that rotation change with an accident? There seems we've had several instances lately that where a vehicle's been involved in an accident. How does that affect the rotation, and just the insurance money replaces the vehicle, and that kind of keeps you in line and on
Sure.
target?
That's absolutely right. Your insurance claims are going to be handled the same way that they are today. So what we would do is help you guys replace that vehicle and get back and up and
Right,
running
with
as soon
insurance,
as
okay.
possible. So for vehicles that you guys can plan for, we recommend factory ordering the vehicles. It's the most cost-effective way to get them in reactive situations like that. We have relationships with all of the dealers in Kentucky, negotiated buys. Of course, you guys are entitled to a very good incentive, and we would get that vehicle replaced quickly.
Thank you.
Did y'all have any other questions for Eric? Okay.
This calculates out the base pay is like $485 per vehicle. There's 8 vehicles here on this summary, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that includes the maintenance program, or is,
On the light-duty vehicles, it includes the maintenance program. On the sheriff's vehicles, there is no maintenance program because those would be going through KCO. So on the
Okay.
F-250 and the Ford Taurus, they would be on a fixed maintenance program that goes through Enterprise.
then the other 6, then the sheriff would get those maintained?
Yes.
Does these vehicles work for you? Does these vehicles work for you, the Explorers, or
These are the ones that he submitted.
he submitted? Okay.
The thing with the sheriff's department's vehicles, that fleet, it'd be different. For us, we would utilize, let's say, scenario, we utilize local business for the county's fleet maintenance system through Enterprise. It would probably be best to use the same local business that can provide the maintain of those vehicles. If it's a manufactured suggested maintenance cycle, then that local business would provide that. Obviously, it would be at our cost, but we could maintain that vehicle almost mirroring what Enterprise model suggests.
Any opportunity you could have to simplify the maintenance process and be able to track your costs is exactly what you guys are shooting for.
Right.
Would you track the cost of the Interceptor vehicles or not?
We would not track it because it wouldn't be on our program. And we would sit down with you guys and look at what you're spending on each vehicle, according to what Marshall County Tire or whatever vendor you guys choose to send those to. If they send us some info, we can still sit down and track your costs down to a penny per mile.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Sounds good.
It's difficult to tell, from long-range standpoint, whether it works or not. It is almost impossible to get, pull the numbers together and say, yeah, this is better than this. So,
And I know one of the questions, Harlan County, one of the concerns they had was you're losing your capital. Now, the interesting thing is there's no contract. At any time we lease these vehicles, we decide that we don't like the relationship for whatever reason, there's no binding contract. We can either choose to keep those vehicles. Obviously, if I understood correctly, it's at the rate that the vehicle was purchased.
That's right. So you would have a book balance at any given time if you guys wanted to pay them off and continue to run them the way that you do today. You have that ability. Basically, what we see is it's more cost-effective to run a more refreshed fleet when you're keeping up with technology and you're driving down your maintenance costs, you're limiting downtime. But in order to keep a refreshed fleet, it requires a lot of capital. So if you guys were to go buy 7 vehicles per year and pay cash for those vehicles, that's a large cash outlay. If you were to lease 7 of those vehicles, it's significantly less.
One of the concerns they had, Harlan County, was that they had a fleet, I believe, of 36 vehicles, and they had 9 in the enterprise fleet maintenance system. It was hard for them to determine the benefits because they didn't have the full fleet system set up. So that was one of the growing pains that fiscal court had, was to determine basically the exact words were, if you're going to go in into the fleet system. If you got 36, replace the 36, you'll see the benefits. If you just tiptoe in with 9 vehicles, it's going to be hard to see the benefits of it.
Right. I mean, it's going to, in a typical scenario, it's going to take 5 years to fully implement a program.
Yeah.
But with that existing fleet, what we can do is, going back to tracking those costs down to the penny per mile, so you guys know what opportunities you have.
What I like about it too is you can get a fixed budget for fleet maintenance
And a long-term plan
and long-term.
as far as
yes.
fleet maintenance. And obviously, Enterprise knows a whole lot more about the business than I do as a commissioner, so, and I assume that's correct, everybody else at this table, so.
I would say it's a good relationship. 2 million vehicles in a fleet, I'm sure Enterprise can get down to the penny.
Yes, sir. It's our business, and we understand it's a necessary evil. It's a rapidly depreciating asset that can be tough to manage, so that's what we bring to the table. And
One question I didn't ask was, outside Kentucky, is Enterprise doing this in other counties, in other states?
Sure. We started in the bigger markets first, and it's starting to move out to other states. But yes, we work in just about all the states now. Cook County, home of Chicago, we've been with for 10 or 15 years now. So they were one of our first clients. But in the bigger markets, you're going to find, we're working with a lot of government entities. It's becoming a bigger niche of ours.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, y'all have anything? Eric, I appreciate you coming and giving us this information. We'll stay in touch with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move on the guest list. Economic Director Josh Tubbs is going to give us an update on Champion Homes.
Thanks, Judge. As you all know, last week, Champion Homes held their job fair at the Joe Creason Center on, I believe it was the 1st and 2nd, so it was a 2-day job fair. During that time, we had the workforce development folks out there and the Kentucky Career Center aiding with those interviews and screenings. During that 2-day period, 416 applicants applied to Champion Homes for employment. Of those 416, 252, or roughly 60% of those applicants were from Marshall County. The other remaining counties that really showed up for that job fair were Callaway County, Graves County, McCracken County. So it was a really good turnout from those, from the regional perspective, and also from our county as well. So our understanding is that the initial hires, they'll hire 50. They'll take those 50, they'll train them, they'll bring them back, and those 50 will act as trainers of the Benton facility. There were several, and I know that the Tribune has an article in their paper today. There were several applicants that were former Fleetwood employees, so those individuals are still in the community with the skill set to get Champion started out. So we're pretty excited about that. Just wanted to report to you guys. I know that there was, I think Marianne Medlock sent an email out, and I think you guys received
Right.
that. So anyway, any questions about that?
Did you say 60% were Marshall County?
60%, yeah, roughly 60% of those that applied. Appreciate the court's support and look forward to Champion being with us for quite some time.
Appreciate it,
Thank
Josh.
you, Josh.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
We'll move on under guest, Randy Newcomb. Good morning, sir.
Move that down because I'm short. In front of you, you have the 2016-17 fiscal year budget for the Kentucky Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. We are anticipating a total income for next year of $471,750. A couple of things I want to let you know about. We have decided that starting July 1, we are going to start a rack service. 41 a rack service, brochure racks. Kentucky's Western Waterlands, which has been in existence for 40-plus years, has decided to dissolve. And so part of that liquidation process, their existing rack service needed a home. And so they gave us the opportunity to take the rack service at no charge. So we're going to have 41 locations of racks. It's going to be an estimated $27,000 worth of income every year for us from now on. And so that's going to increase our budget every year by $27,000. Downside is I have to have a place to store all of these brochures. So we are going to be building a separate storage facility on our property in Draftonville for this rack service, and that's going to cost us around $22,000. But because KWW is liquidating for this year, upcoming year only, there's going to be a one-time set amount of money that's going to be coming to the Kentucky Lake CVB. In their bylaws, when they dissolve, all of their assets must be liquidated and turned over to similar organizations. Well, that's Convention and Visitors Bureaus or tourist commissions. There are 8 of those organizations that were paying members of KWW, so all of their assets are going to be divided among 8 of us. $150,000 in the bank plus a building that's going to be auctioned off that will bring a minimum of $150,000. So we're looking at a minimum one-time payment of about $30,000. I'm actually expecting it to be closer to 40, but for budgeting process, I wanted to keep it low. So we have $57,000 extra dollars coming in for this fiscal year that we didn't have last. So that's why my budget is up over $50,000 over last year's budget on income. Next year, sadly, my budget will go down about $30,000 because we're not going to get that payment anymore. As far as expenses, I have $96,350 toward administration, which is 20.4% of the budget. I have $81,350 toward advertising, which is 17.2%. $102,700 for advertising support, which is 21.8%. To give you an idea, advertising support includes all the fishing tournaments and events that we fund, and $70,000 of that is for events. $161,350 is for payroll. This is going to enable us to keep our 2 full-time employees, plus we're going to add an additional part-time employee for this upcoming year to help deal with the rack service and other things we need. So it also leaves us with a $30,000 surplus. I like to keep a surplus just in case anything comes up, whether it be another event comes in, some opportunity comes up. So we have some money set aside to pull from. It also helps us at the end of the fiscal year because the way we collect our money, Emily can tell you, we get it on the 20th the following month. The last thing I need is to come in to the middle of June and have $0 in my account because I'm waiting for that payment. Same with July. I don't want to get to July and start the year with $0. So that's why we have that surplus set up. So that's our budget, and any questions?
Randy, I noticed you have 340,000 for room tax
Yes,
budgeted.
that is
What that compared to, what was it last year?
Last year, I had budgeted approximately 335,000, so I have increased it a little. I did actually have it at 347,000 in my initial budget, but when we got March returns back in April, they did not hit our targeted amount that we had budgeted, so I backed it down to 340.
Well, that's a pretty conservative number then.
Extremely conservative, yes.
I would hope so.
I'm
would be very
extremely conservative on all of my income numbers. I always am. Just about 7, 8 years ago, we got very optimistic with our numbers, and it came around and we didn't hit those numbers. And Emily can tell you, I had about a year there where I was struggling. And so since then, we've kind of backed off, and I've been more cautious with my numbers.
Payroll and benefits of 40% of your budget.
Payroll and benefits is 34.2%. Most service organizations, the DMAI, which is the National Tourism Organization, they recommend anywhere 40 to 45%. I want to keep it 30 to 33, but I had to go 34 since we're adding a part-time employee. And state retirement's going up, so that added to it as well.
Anybody got any other questions?
I don't have a question, but just would like to make a comment. Elena and I guess she's told you, we were at the Hobie fishing tournament this weekend for about 3 hours at Kentucky Dam, and my skepticism, the fact that they had 38 participants the first year, and then last year I went out there just to make sure how we were spending taxpayers' dollars, and it was 76, and this weekend where there was 107 participants,
107,
and
yes.
be 150 next time. They're growing. And Wide World of Sports does a segment at the end of the year talking. They were interviewing a bunch of riders in here and photographers that follow that tournament, and just, nature lovers, and that profession was here. So lots of people, and my understanding from talking to those folks, when they came here 3 years ago, it was just most of them camped, and the last 2 years, they're getting to know the people, and they're either sharing rooms or bringing their families. And there was they went from the little pavilion over there at the old marina to the beach house to the convention center, and it was full. So that's,
Yeah, it's grown. This is the only tournament that Hobie does, the only one, and they started it here. They wanted to do a kayak fishing tournament, and it's weird. They don't do it by weight. They do it by length. The longest bass. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah,
but
measure, catch, and release, take
they
a picture
measure
of
it.
it, and
Yep.
and
And the guy won by half an inch, so there you go. But, and the winners go to the World Championships. So our event is a qualifier for the USA team to go to the World Kayak Fishing Championship. So they want to come back again, and we're going to try to do it. I know, I think Calvert City has already put money aside in their budget for next year to help bring Hobie back. And so, of course, we have as well. And so we'll see if we can get them again.
Good.
And then, real quick, before you guys accept, I want to tell you, the state released their economic impact numbers for tourism for 2015, and just to give you an update, Marshall County went from $123.6 million to $132.9 million from 2014 to 2015, a 7.5% increase. The state increased 5%, we increased 7.5%. And so it's doing very well right now.
Good.
I was Really disappointed that we didn't get everything, our roads mowed before the Memorial holiday.
Yeah,
But what can we do about that, if anything? I put a call into and didn't get a call back from our,
make sure that the week before Memorial Day is on their quarterly mow calendar.
they say they've got a contract, but all you have to do is make sure that the first time the roads are mowed on the contract is prior to Memorial Day. They could do that. I don't
But it's getting in
understand why we
touch with
can't.
them.
And then the next weekend was the 400-mile yard sale, which everybody running in and out of people's driveways. I'm surprised there wasn't a tremendous amount of accidents.
Yeah, there were quite a few.
Figured, I mean, you can't see.
Well, and I drove 68, it was last Friday morning, I was driving 68, and it was a mowed yard, and then grass is this tall on the side of the road, blocking the next driveway and everything. I don't know. It's gotten worse over the years, the mowing has. It's gotten to the point where we actually talked at my office a few weeks ago about seeing if we could get volunteers to actually mow the medians just
I mean, this-
in the
that's
area
what- to
because
me,
they're
it's
grown
a-
up.
It's as much a tourism issue with those
Very
two
much so.
events early in the year as it is anything else.
Yeah, but it will get mowed. It will get mowed on July 6th. It's always right after a major holiday is when they'll come and mow. And if there's something you guys can do, I would love to have it
If
mowed
there's any
because it's an
suggestions,
eyesore.
I'd certainly be happy to make contact with anyone we could make
Let's make it
contact
perfectly
with.
clear, we're talking about state roads and not
Yes, yes, yes,
Marshall
yes.
County roads. Russell seems not be concerned, but
These
we're
are
not just-
state roads.
We're not just talking about Marshall County roads. Our road department does a fantastic
Yes.
job, and then those are state roads that.
You can tell
we're
a difference when you
referring
leave
to.
a county road to a state road right now. It's
Sure.
about a
Lynn Lane
3.5,
had me-
4-foot difference.
Lynn Lane had me document every call I received since the state contracted out their mowing. He's really upset over it too, because they're not gonna mow but 4 times the whole year.
Yep.
One of them needs to be before Memorial Day.
Yeah, they
And the 4th
mow.
of July.
They mow early, and by the time they get it mowed, it's already grown back up, and then they don't mow again until after, like I said, after 4th of July.
As we were told, the judge and I were told by some of the people we're discussing here that I think it's experimental program that they're doing, and we just happen to be one of the guinea pigs in Callaway County, Trigg County, Marshall County, and it's even going to be worse instead of better, or they think it is. So he's urged elected officials to contact the authorities and express their concerns also.
If I could find money in the budget for a lawnmower, I'll go out and mow them. I mean,
If there are areas that are, like we had an area in Draftonville that, it was a complaint that came in, they will go out, complaint-based, if you will. Obviously, too, if it's a hazard, they will go out, the state will go out.
Yeah, at intersections.
Yeah.
But
Well,
driveway, I don't think they do it in driveways, if you just
Yeah.
ask them, but intersections, yes, they're doing that.
I even called state to ask, we had someone who said, we will volunteer to keep the medians mowed, like in Draftonville, Calvert, that always get grown up. They would mow it, and no charge. All they ask is if they could put a little sign there that said whatever lawn care business. Can't do it because they have a state mowing contract, so they can't do it. But we've had people offer to do it at no charge, but we just can't get it done. So you're not going to arrest me, Sheriff, if I go out and mow a median, are you? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. So if you see me out there pushing the mower, you'll know what's going on.
So we call you if we got areas that we need to.
Is that Randy's mowing service?
Yeah, I'll find a place to park some mowers out at my office with everybody else.
But no, that was an issue, that Memorial Day, we get a lot of tourism in this county, and at a minimum, I think that needs to be discussed, and it is a regional, there are just a few counties that they're trying this with, so
I
it's
think
been noted.
it's not working, I
Yeah.
don't think. But any other questions about the budget?
Doing a good job, Randy.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I think we're good. We will entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the budget.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Randy. One thing, I didn't put on their correspondence, but this may tie into the mowing things. The Chamber of Commerce has got a biscuits and business breakfast June 15th at 7:30 a.m. at the Ponderosa Steakhouse. The guest speaker is Mike McGregor from the Kentucky Department of Transportation. So I bring that up because there are some issues with the state roads. I know we've got 2 bridges that are out. And if anybody wants to go to that breakfast, obviously Mike will be there giving an update, and you can ask questions regarding the status of those projects. So I just want to put that out there.
Where was it at? 17?
It's June 15th at 7:30 a.m. It's the Ponderosa Steakhouse in Drapenville. And he's going to be the guest speaker. The chamber puts that on. I just wanted to pass that on to everybody. We'll move on under old business. Approve the minutes for May 17th, May 24th, annual bids, and May 31st, special call meeting.
Motion to approve those minutes, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Under old business, we've got Hollinger Road. We had a public hearing. There was one, I believe, that came on behalf of support, but there was nobody from the community that showed up against. So we had the public hearing at this point. Any discussions on Hollinger Road?
My understanding that there's one property owner that owns property on both sides of the road.
Yes.
Nothing else touches that road.
I think did we correct the LLC? I think there was an issue with the,
Well, we've asked, we put them on notice regarding the, if assuming that it's approved, that they will need to get that resolved
okay.
when we do the deed, or get the deed from them.
Is it still true, Judge, on that particular project, when that road was constructed, what was the date, 2002 or something like that? When was that? Anybody remember? Can't remember the,
We found documents of blacktop in 2002.
right. And it's my understanding that looking back through the records, or what I have been privileged to, that the state of Kentucky, the county asked the state of Kentucky for $50,000 to construct a road and so forth, and that's the only documentation that I can find, that $50,000 was, I don't know, did the county do anything, Russell, in your recollection to?
I don't remember anything. That was before I started
Okay.
being supervisor and stuff.
That's the only thing that the state of Kentucky was asked by the judge executive for help in bringing jobs and creating jobs, and they eventually provided $50,000 for that project. Did not come out of the general fund or anything that we can find to this point.
Right. The 50,000 was in 2002. The state agreed. I think it was actually 2006 when they actually paid it.
Right.
But that's the only documents that we can find. The one thing too is, I believe Mr. Straight, when he came, he talked about the road, the future plans for that company. They have to raise that road, which is going to be an additional cost. And the way I see it, it's probably something to where they can spend that money to raise that road. It's going to benefit that company instead of the county.
It's going to be significant.
It's going to be significant because the floodplain in that area.
I would say it probably costs as much as building the road originally.
Oh, more now, yeah.
Any other questions? Regarding Hollinger Road, make a motion or entertain a motion. With the petition was to take the road out of the county maintenance system.
We have followed all requirements, and
I'm sorry, Rick.
I'm just asking the attorney, make sure we have followed all the requirements and the stipulations and jumped through all the hoops we have to do that properly.
Yes, yes.
Okay, with public
And I would
hearing.
ask that the motion include authorization for you to sign the deed. Once the status of the LLC has been corrected, we want to make sure that the property, the road property belongs to the same organization as the subject property, so that it's not a different title.
Okay.
Do we need to wait till we get that information to,
Well, this is a matter of a correction at the state, with the Secretary of State by the LLC, and your motion could be subject to that. I mean, it's more of a clerical issue than anything else.
With that information, entertain a motion.
so moved if we're comfortable that we've jumped through all the hoops we're supposed to, and say I didn't come out of the general fund. As far as I can see, it's $50,000 that the state gave us with increased cost, and floods 3 or 4 times a year as is right now, and they realize that, and if they will bear the expense, and them being the only property owners on either side of that road, I move that we close Hollinger Road.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Under old business, bid opening, Calvert City property. We got those.
This was for the property in Calvert City at 511 East Fifth Street. An advertisement was ran in the Marshall County Tribune on Tuesday, May 10th, accepting sealed bids by 4 p.m. on Monday, June the 6th, in Judge's Executive Office. And there are 2. It's from Clint Conrad, received on June 6th at 10:11 a.m. Bid price $31,007 for property located in Calvert City at 511 East Fifth Street. Clint Conrad. The other one received on June the 2nd at 2:30 p.m. It's from the United Steelworkers Local 727. To whom it may concern, purchase of property at 511 East 5th Avenue, Calvert City, Kentucky 42029. The United Steelworkers Local 727 of Calvert City would like to make a bid of $50,004 on the property at 511 East 5th Avenue, Calvert City, Kentucky. Respectfully, William G. Evans, Financial Secretary of USW Local 727.
Say that's a pretty good increase. That's a $13,000 increase over our previous bid.
Is that it?
That's it.
And that was $50,004 for United Steelworkers?
Make a motion to accept that bid from Steelworkers.
Second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
How does that transfer? I know Chris Levitt's here on their behalf, and how does that transfer take place? I'm the only one that's got a key to it, I'm sure, or the only one I could find. I got one from the janitor at the hospital, but I know I'll keep the keys to Chris, but what does he need to do? And from this point forward, have you already discussed that? Do you know where you need to take this from? Okay. How does he do that?
Well,
Let's help him.
When he, at the point where he tenders certified funds, we can give him a deed.
Okay.
It's in the
So he
name.
brings those funds to,
Fiscal court.
Fiscal, to the judge's office or make just, we can be in touch and when, set up that meeting and whatever he wants.
okay. Got that? Need anything else? They're presently located, United Steelworkers are presently located in Calvert City and have been for many, many years and outgrown the use of the building where they are and certainly.
What you need is a certified check or cashier's check or whatever.
Who's gonna sign on behalf of the workers? Who's gonna sign on behalf of the?
Who's going to sign on your behalf? Did you get that?
It's on the bid.
Yeah, he read that, or at least Evans.
All right, we'll move on with old business. County Road Aid, we had a public hearing. There was no participation for or against, so we have yet to receive that from the state. But we went ahead and had the public hearing, opened that up to the citizens, and we'll move forward when we do get that money. But I would entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the county road aid as set forth by the state.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. In your information that we gave you, the updated budget. Emily, do you want to go over this sheet, this top sheet?
Yes, since our last budget workshop, I've implemented some of the changes that you all requested and a few other things that have come up in the past weeks. Brian Cutzinger with the ambulance service was here, expressed the need for 3 ventilators for the ambulances. This budget's for those, and then we are talking to Enterprise about leasing the ambulance chassis as well. We haven't got that quote, so I estimated that to be about $20,000. That lease payment, so I've added $65,000 in expenses there. OEM training supplies, this is the account that Benton funds partially, so I've added that in too. Sanitation utilities, we're expecting some expenses to do with Marshall County sanitation, number 1 and number 2, or combined whenever. But we've allotted $200,000 for that. Much beyond that, we're gonna have to look at financing to get a better picture of what all we need, but this will help us get some of that immediate costs taken care of. Due to the salt bid, I took our allotment for salt down 10,000. If we have to buy, if the cities bail on us and we have to buy all of that, the most we would be out would be $59,000 for our portion. So I removed that down to 60,000.
Emily, as far as the salt, the cities have an agreement with us. They can't bail.
Right. They
There's no
they
bailing.
won't. But
Yeah.
in the event that we had to get that much, I wanted us to be covered just in case. But more than likely, I'm anticipating spending between 52 and 53,000 on salt. But I've got 60,000 budgeted. I got the earthquake pricing, insurance, it was $8,000 less, so I've taken that down. Workers' comp was $18,000 less than budgeted, so I've taken that down. I asked for $1,000 more in my equipment for a laptop so that I can have access to up-to-date information up here in court and throughout other areas of the building. Enterprise, we have added a leasing line for up to 4 vehicles in the light-duty fleet. No, it doesn't include the emergency vehicles. That can be, that's not decided on yet. We're just making preparations for us to come to a conclusion as to how many we want to do. We in our budget workshop, we talked about the Hardin overtime and trying to use some of Hardin's regulatory fees to pay that overtime. So I've made an adjustment in the ABC budget to reflect that. And I also, due to the ABC funds not coming in as much as we anticipated this fiscal year, I have taken next fiscal year's budget down $50,000. So we reduced that in enforcement. However, we'll still be able to, the quotes that we have from Enterprise will still satisfy, we can still purchase all those that we intended to purchase in the 120,000. I shorted that from 170 to 120 because we can get the aftermarket products and the lease agreement in that amount as well. So it doesn't change what we intended to purchase. It just reduces the amount of income. And then if we were to have more income, I'll amend that in as it's received.
So that $50,000 that you have taken out of because of lack of action so far, income so far from alcohol.
Yeah,
So that takes that $515,000 down $50,000 that we anticipated in revenue?
Yes, yes.
Is that a accurate, I know we're guessing right at this point, but the last weekend just started the season.
Right. I just don't want to be, this year, we were quite a bit over budget, or I had over anticipated receipts, and so we've had to really watch expenses, because unlike general fund or road fund, or where we've got actual monies already there, this account doesn't have anything to fall back on. If we don't get the money in and we spend more than we get in, we're gonna be in trouble. So, this is just trying to be extra conservative on the income side so that we don't get in that situation.
I would think with the summer season and the lake and many people visiting our area that number is going to go up significantly.
Yeah, and I think this year's smaller amounts are due to late opening stores. We didn't have a lot of package sales open. It's the month that what I got in May was for February, March, and April, which are still winter months. So I think what we receive in August for May, June, and July will give us a better picture of at least a peak season.
While we're on the budget, one of the things, I know you're all aware of it, we've discussed it in our budget workshops, as far as ABC monies being a projection. In time, obviously the end of the fiscal year, and trying to budget for monies that haven't come in yet, it's pretty tough to do. But I want to go through the one section of the budget, and it's my understanding, and Sheriff, if you can explain to me, it's my understanding that you've offered employment to 2 deputies. Can you explain to the court? The reason why is because we budgeted in our budget workshop 19 deputies. The offered employment to, I believe the one that's going to start the 16th makes 20.
It's replacing what I've lost for one that had resigned and the other 2 retired. Just replacing, not adding, just replacing.
The budget workshop that we had, the amount of monies that we put into the budget was for 19 deputies. The employment that's offered to this lateral makes number 20.
I'm just telling you, I'm replacing what I've lost. I'm not gaining anything, so So what you're telling me is one of the ones that I lost, you're not gonna replace?
What I'm telling you is you're budgeted for 19. You offered employment to a 20, this lateral will be number 20. I didn't know what your plans were. We had our budget workshop. We discussed it in the budget workshop. There was no communication to my office or the fiscal court, so that's why I'm asking. One of the reasons why we want to look at this budget is to make sure that we can get ahead of any potential over budgeting or anything like that. Right now, you're budgeted for 19, and if this condition of employment that was offered to this lateral, he's going to make number 20.
I don't know what to tell you. I just, I'm replacing what I'd lost.
But
Okay.
we've had 20 deputies all along? You're just replacing,
I'm replacing, one resigned and one lost to retirement, and I'm replacing. I'm not adding anything. I'm replacing what was lost.
I just remember in the budget workshop, it being, the number being at 19, and I've gone back and listened to the tape of the meeting, and the number was 19 that was discussed, and you brought something up about passing it before the court to hire a new, or, potential deputy and so forth, and you were asked by the judge, who that was, and you didn't.
And at that time, I wasn't ready to.
Right, and you said that, and I agree, you said that, and then, it was stated in that meeting and on that tape that number would remain at 19. And that's as far as the discussion has gone, as far as I know.
I mean, I've got the minutes to our budget workshop, and that's exactly what we discussed, and the numbers reflect 19 deputies.
And at that point, you were trying to force me to tell you who I was looking at, and at that point, I did not want to disclose because there were some other factors involved in it. And I told you at that point that we're just replacing what we had lost.
I don't think you understand. We had a first reading on this budget in the fiscal court. The numbers in the deputies' hire was 19. What I'm trying to tell you is that we don't know. This body there's no communication from you as far as what your plans are. That's why we're asking. If you're just replacing, then you're actually, you're over your deputy hire. More concerning to me is that lateral who has got a job and has dropped his 2 weeks' notice. He's got a family, he's got a career. We got to get over this non-communication stuff. We sat in a budget workshop, we discussed 19 deputies. What I'm telling you is that employment that you offered to that deputy makes it 20. The budget will not handle 20 deputies.
Okay.
And I don't know how to get you to understand that you have to communicate to this fiscal court. In the ways, and that's why I'm going to bring this up so that you understand, the ways that we do our budget in the past, where we move monies around, those days are over. We want to, if we budget a line item for a department, we want to see where those, you're going to come to us like you did in the budget workshop and tell us your needs as far as the dollar amount. This fiscal court approves with any department monies that get moved around. And I just want to put that out there because I don't know what your philosophy is, but I can tell you we sat in a budget workshop, we discussed 19 deputies, and that employment that was offered to that young man is number 20, and the budget doesn't support that.
Okay. I don't know what we do at this point because, Mr. Edwards, would you mind helping me out with this?
Well, I mean,
What's the question?
Because of the discussions, like I said, at that point, I did not want to disclose who I was looking at that point. And I needed the position then, and because of you trying to get me to disclose what I was going to do on that, and I didn't want to at that point.
I'm going to stop you right here. In that budget workshop meeting,
I understand what you're
we
saying.
confirmed it was 19 deputies.
Okay.
We had a first reading. Your
My
deputy hire
misunderstanding, and I
dollars
apologize for that.
is you knew, you know, you can't, you got to look at your budget. If your budget states 19 deputies, then, you know, it's 19. It's not 20, it's not 21, it's 19. The communication, if you could have communicated with the fiscal court, you would have known that you're at your max on your deputy hire.
Okay. So
I mean-
actually, so what you're saying is from what I had from last year to what's coming up this year, I'm going to be one man short.
What I'm telling you is that your budget that we discussed in the budget workshop reflects 19 deputies. You offered employment to a 20th deputy. Your budget does not support that. I would be calling that young man and telling him that the budget doesn't support that. He's dropped his papers. He thinks he's going to be employed with the Marsh County Sheriff's Department on the 16th. Your budget doesn't support that. I'd be more concerned with his career right now on that decision. Your dollars do not reflect a 20 manpower, it reflects 19. And I say this, communicate with this fiscal court. There's been no communication with this fiscal court after our budget workshop.
Well, that was my understanding, that that number was at 19, and it was going to stay at 19 until further communication. And apparently that has not, I didn't even know we were going to hire another deputy. but
Well, and it doesn't help in the minutes.
Above the 19.
When you confirm the number. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can, if you have issues, I know Emily has tried to help with the budget. We've got an individual. My concern right now is that young man who thinks he's coming to work here.
Okay.
Certainly can be amended if the court agreed.
If the court agrees, and I've made it clear that if we go over the budget, I'm not going to entertain amending if we go over a budget. That's just me.
Okay, I understand that. And my apologies again for miscommunication. But, so what you're telling me now is I am going to be one man short from what we had prior to. Because all I'm doing is replacing at this point. I'm not gaining in any way. I'm replacing. What
I'm telling you is exactly what I just told you.
Okay. So the people of this county is going to get one less officer to patrol the county and do what we need to do.
We're not going to play political games here,
No, no,
Sheriff.
I'm not playing political games,
You've got
Judge.
a budget that you agreed to.
Okay.
You agreed to it. Follow it. That's all I ask.
Well, will the court entertain amending the budget so I can replace that position? And it's an existing position.
I'm certainly confused because of the number that I remember, and I reviewed the tape of that meeting down in the old courtroom, as we do with every department head, and that number when we left there was 19, and every department goes through the same process. We have the department head in, we go over their wish list, their budget, and so forth, and when we left that meeting that afternoon, that number was 19. And apparently there's been no communication to increase, decrease that number, or enlighten us. And as the road department makes their point, and when they're here as the Parks Department makes their budget out, that's the time to do that, not after the first reading.
May I ask a question? Emily, did I not ask whenever this budget workshop was coming up last time, I asked, did I need to be there for anything of mine? And you said no. That it was just the folks that they hadn't talked to yet.
Right, because
This is
It
all
was
new
our
territory
understanding
to
that-
me, and that's why I'm asking these questions. I'm not intentionally trying to do anything.
I understand, The issues with those departments were unresolved issues. Here's the minutes, because I didn't know what your plan of action was, but here's the minutes from that budget workshop. We left the budget workshop understanding what those numbers were. We were all there. Somehow, we went above the numbers. And that's why I'm asking. And you said you're replacing people that you wanted. You stated that you wanted to replace the deputy that resigned. And we said, no, 19 is what you're going to have, and you agreed. The budget numbers reflect that. You offered employment. I didn't offer the employment. I mean, it's your budget that we give you that, you should stay with. My concern is that there's no communication to this fiscal court. You have to communicate to this fiscal court.
And
I mean, we're here to help.
I
We're here to make
understand.
sure.
Again,
but
this is all new to me, and
what's new to you?
doing it this way, this is all new, doing it the way
Sitting in a budget
that
workshop.
we're doing it now.
Sitting in a budget workshop.
Yes, that is all new territory for me because I haven't had to do that before.
You left that budget workshop knowing that you weren't going to replace that deputy that resigned, and you replaced him.
I did not have that understanding. No, I did not.
Okay.
So we did have 20 and 15, 16 budget.
The 2015, there were 20. And we moved it to 19.
This fiscal year, we had 20 budgeted. When I was preparing the budget, I knew we were down one at that point. So I did not put him in there until I heard from you all, from Sheriff and you all as to what we wanted to do. At that budget workshop, I thought it was understood that we were staying at 19. So I didn't make any changes after that.
That was my understanding too, 19.
That we were
mean,
gonna drop, we
it-
knew we were gonna drop to 18 for a little bit, and then he was gonna replace the one to go back to 19.
I mean, there's no misunderstanding that it states right here in the minutes, there was no replacement for that deputy.
And like I said, that I did not have that understanding when we left that day.
Okay? I
That's
don't know how.
miscommunication on my part.
I don't know
But-
how. I mean, you agreed that it would stay at that number, but that's beside the point. Here's my concern in the future moving forward. Monies that are in your budget in the past that you may have been familiar with, you can change and move.
Right.
Those days are over.
I understand
The
that.
fiscal court has to approve that.
I understand that.
You got to communicate to us.
Okay. And like I said, my apologies on that. I misunderstood when we left that day. And again, I'm asking the court, can we make the amendment to that? Because I'm replacing what I have lost.
You know my opinion on it.
I understand that. Whether it's supported or not, were there issues with ABC? This is all brand new. We don't know what kind of situations we're going to get in with that. I would actually move that we do not reduce our officer force. I'd move that we amend the budget to allow that officer to be replaced.
Those needs are as we're guessing about the numbers from revenue, those, we're just guessing right now, and I certainly think that we need to be able to justify that, and there has been no justification or time hasn't allowed that to happen.
We've used that many officers in the past, and we've actually, now we've added alcohol to the mix.
And there
Can't
may be a
imagine
need for
reducing- I
that.
can't imagine reducing our force in this situation, but that's just me.
Well, in the budget workshop, we specifically stated that, and there was no objections. Actually, it was understood that we were reducing the force. Now that we've offered employment, and it was very clear that you wanted to hire an individual, and that's exactly what you did. I have a problem with when we talk about these issues in a budget workshop, and then a department head goes out and does totally the opposite of what we discuss. And I'm not going to overlook that. And I'll even go further to talk about why you and I had that conversation regarding that resignation. I had a problem with that. I was told it was going to be a termination, and you allowed a resignation. I'm just saying that's the basis of my. If you're not going to manage the force, then
During the investigation, the gentleman decided to resign before a conclusion could have been made. It was during the investigation that he turned his resignation in.
do you have a policy on resignation?
He can offer a resignation and quit at any time. Anybody can.
I understand that, but do you have a policy on resignation?
I would have to go look at our manual. I don't know right off the top of my head, just to be quite honest with you, because our manual is about 42 chapters thick.
Right. The problem I had was you called me and told me you were going to terminate.
That was the plans as the investigation was going to be concluded.
And again, the lack of communication, a resignation was accepted. That's my reasoning for not accepting a 20th deputy, was because of the management of your manpower. We left this budget workshop knowing it was 19. You went out and offered employment beyond the conversations of this fiscal court. To me, that's a problem. It's not an issue of amending the budget. You deal with the problem, and that's why we're having this conversation.
I don't disagree with that, and the problem can be dealt with at some point in time. I just hate for the problem to stand in the way of us having enough coverage, if that's the case. The problem, if we get a communication problem, then
Well, the
we all need to
communication,
work on that. Everyone needs to work on that, but
well, the communication problem was clear. I mean, the communication was clear in this budget workshop. The problem now is that we've got a young man who's dropped his 2 weeks' notice. I mean, that conversation needs to be had because the budget at this point doesn't support that young man coming to this agency.
Okay.
Are there any other questions regarding?
there's a motion on the floor.
He's made a motion. I guess that would be a motion to amend the first reading
Yes.
of the budget.
All those in favor?
The proposed budget.
Have a second.
Is there a second motion? There's not a second motion.
And the motion fails.
Then the motion fails. I'd make that phone call, Sheriff. We're going to move on with the budget, or move on with the agenda. Under new business, we've got Randy Duke's building inspector contract. You should have a copy in your folder. I talked to Randy. There's no major issues with this contract. Actually, he's doing a phenomenal job. Workload that they've got, I think, is more than what they anticipated. But
I think it is too.
he,
Which is a good thing for Marshall County. That's tax
Absolutely.
dollars coming in.
Yes. But his contract, I don't see anything wrong with it.
We're doing the mileage. I was thinking there was, at some point, we weren't gonna do the mileage. It's fine with me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think we are doing the
Okay,
mileage.
that's fine.
Yeah.
In regards to the mileage, I think it would be better if we did it following the GSA mileage rating that we use for our travel that fluctuates with the cost of fuel.
I was wondering about that. I mean, it was just set at that rate at that time. I remember
Right,
that.
right.
We do the same thing at the plant. I mean, that's what we do for travel. Is that something we need, if he's agreeable, it may reduce a little bit. I don't know with gas prices. I can't remember now.
It went down for just a little bit to like 51.5, but now I think it's back up to 54.
Okay.
Emily, how does that program, I know when the state mandated that to the counties and the cities, municipalities, and state of Kentucky, back in, July of last year, is the percentage 80% for the inspector, 20% for the administrative cost? How's that played out?
For
The
this
80/20,
for this
is
fiscal,
that paying for the,
this fiscal year it is. However.
that's what,
in
I didn't,
This fiscal year it is. However, next fiscal year, I'm not sure that it's going to. This fiscal year, we were evaluating how much time it was going to take Casey in the GIS office to manage it. And it's taken quite a bit more of his time than
I
he
understand that.
anticipated. So for next fiscal year, we've changed his pay split from just a simple $2 an hour to a 40% of his salary. So when that cost increase next year, it may not be able to sustain itself. But I felt like that was a much more fair distribution than us eating all
Right.
the costs, that way we can
Right.
separate it out to the cities and let them know how much they should be responsible for based on the percentages of where the permits came from.
and that they have agreed before the program got started to share the cost in that, and you couldn't find a fellow that does a better job than Casey. We got
Yeah,
the right
he does
person
an
in the
excellent
job,
job.
does
Yeah.
excellent job.
And the more inspections that we have and the more that they do, the more likely it is to pay for itself. But it's
But
a
it's so
very
far,
active-
so far it has.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I just when the state tells you that, you don't always, they
Yeah.
mandate and they give you those figures, and they're not always accurate as
Right.
far as whether that'll get the job done. Well, that's good to know.
We didn't think that there would be any way at this point on the front end that it would pay for
Right,
itself.
right. I know that was that was anticipated,
No, it
that
shouldn't
cost.
it shouldn't, some of this, the cost that we've realized shouldn't continue.
But we've got
better.
two good employees, and Randy Duke and Casey Counts, and you couldn't ask for anybody that works better with the public than those two guys. They've done a good job.
Well, why don't we do this? She's going to make the changes to the contract that we discussed, and we'll bring it back on the 21st.
Okay?
Take action then. Next on their new business, Sheriff Byers' final settlement for 2015 taxes collected. Should have a copy of that.
4 different orders for tax settlement for 2015. I will need these signed, and I'll need the originals back. County Clerk, Mr. York, has to sign these as well. I do need the originals back for auditors. First one is the 2015 franchise tax settlement. If you will see there that on the summary of the franchise taxes for adjustments and exonerations, 1 penny is what is owed to the Palmer-Brownsburg Fire Department. And that's just normal adjustments and exonerations. Need an order for approval on that, please.
Entertain a
To
motion.
approve franchise tax settlement.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Next one,
Next is the 2015 supplemental tax bill collection for other years, 13, 14 tax settlement. And the overall summary there is zeroed out. Approval on that as well, please.
Motion to approve the 15 supplemental bill, tax bill collection.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries.
Next one is the 2015 unmined mineral tax settlement. And that one is zeroed out as well.
A motion to approve.
There a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the approval of 2015 property tax, so again through exonerations and adjustments, $40.63. The approval on that.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the 2015 property tax settlement.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Considering nearly $24 million being just $40, that's pretty good, if you ask me.
We'll move on to new business. South Marshall Fire Department resignation and appointments. I'll just read the letter. This is in reference to South Marshall Fire Department, Fire Protection Board. Judge Neal, due to unforeseen personal circumstances, Harry Holliday, a member of the South Marshall Fire Department Incorporated Fire Protection Board, has expressed his intent to resign his appointment effective June 30th, 2016. The board would like to recommend Mona Freeman, residing at 156 Aurora, to complete his term, which expires June 30th, 2017. And that's from Marcia Searles, Chairman.
You need a motion to approve that recommendation?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Also from South Marshall Fire Department regarding a letter, I'll read it. Judge Neal, Gary Freeman's term on the board expires June 30th, 2016. Gary's position was appointment by the county judge executive per KRS 75. As Gary is a member in good standing, we, the board, would like to recommend that he be reappointed to another term on the South Marshall Fire Department Fire Protection Board. Thank you, Marcia Searles.
So moved, Judge.
Second.
But just so the record clear, they're making a recommendation to you, that's your nomination?
Correct.
Okay. Because that's what the statute requires, is him to nominate. And then,
Correct. I would nominate Gary Freeman.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Or a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to new business. You've got the earthquake, the 2016-2017 earthquake renewal quote from CAECO. Limited 20 million, deductible 25,000, TIV 42,200 and 265. 16-17 renewal premium is 55,862.
That's approximately $8,000 less than it was last year.
It's always a good
Motion, we
thing.
approve that payment. Does they need this signed?
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Don't have, we've got a refuse board appointment. We appointed Marvin Stokes to complete the term that was remaining for Charlie. and that term ended June of this year, so at the end of this month. So we should make an appointment for Marvin to complete the required term that would start at the end of this month. So I would make a motion to reappoint Marvin Stokes to the board
For the full four-year
for
term?
the full term, correct?
Second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Jason is going to give us update on the nuisance ordinance revision.
Yes, Judge, really quickly.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
did we do this Marshall County Extension District? Are we missing that, or we?
Yep, it's not on my list. Let me go ahead and do that. The special interest group, a government entity, Marshall County Extension, submitted their, from their district board, submitted their budget. You got it attached in your file there, so.
Do we accept that, or, I mean, do we do anything with it?
I think we just acknowledge that we
Okay.
received it.
Right,
Just acknowledge you received it.
okay.
So now we'll go to Jason.
All right. In the last legislative session, KRS 381.770 was repealed in its entirety, and that's what our current nuisance ordinance was based on. So I guess an argument could be made that our nuisance ordinance as it stands is invalid. I think I would have a defense to that if it were argued in court, but nevertheless, in place of that, there's been a very comprehensive statute that's been passed. It's in Chapter 65, I believe, replacing 381.770, which creates or causes local governments to create code enforcement boards. And I haven't familiarized myself totally with the statutory scheme yet, but just skimming through it, I really like the looks of it. I think it's set up to do some good. I believe the City of Benton currently has a scheme like that where they use a code enforcement board. I think they've had lots of success with it. In the statutory scheme, it also specifically allows cities and governments to go in together on it financially and cooperatively. And as I've told Judge Neal, I've had discussions with Mayor Scott of Hardin, and I know he's interested in it as well as possibly working with the county and providing some financial support. I haven't raised the issue with the city council yet. We're meeting again on this coming Monday, so that'll be on our agenda there. But I would be shocked if there wasn't a lot of support for that through the city council. So what I would like to do is start working on a draft that's in line with this new statutory scheme, and let both of the bodies be looking at that, considering that as a way to combat the nuisance ordinance problems that we've had in the past, so.
I agree. I know for my office, I know y'all have too. I mean, I have been inundated with a lot of complaints regarding nuisance properties. So, and we've discussed it, I think, previous meetings, that we definitely need to look at the current status and get something in place.
Those complaints are well justified also.
Yes.
We have a
Yes.
broken system.
It works both ways,
Basics are the
yeah.
same. I mean, the internals, aren't they just a little bit different way that you?
Yeah, basically, the way that I read it,
authority.
and again, I haven't read it, chapter and verse all the
Right.
way through, but you have to have a code enforcement board. That's part of the.
Right. It's the authorities.
Right, and it's gonna be, it'll be a civil fines as opposed to any kind of, that would help take care of that. But yeah, there are some tweaks and changes that can be made with it. I know the judge and I talked about possibilities of designating a code enforcement officer to help with that, and I think some of the ideas that we toss back and forth, I think it's gonna be a really good thing for us. and hopefully well-received by the community too.
Yeah, because like Rick said, it works on both ends. If you're on the receiving end of a complaint or the individual complaint, and there's something in place that can,
And-
hopefully make a,
And this is much more likely to stand scrutiny of the court, should it be challenged, than what we have now in
correct,
that original statute. That's always been a real concern of mine.
correct. I would say we let Jason move forward on putting this together, and then come back to us. Obviously, communicate with me if there's anything you need to put together, and we'll present it back to the fiscal court.
I've been talking with Callaway County. They're also working on it as well.
Same thing.
Well, so I assume every county has the same problem that we have, and you can, which ones do you pick out of the 5,000 unsafe, dilapidated doors, kicked in, abandoned property that exists? And I'm sure each entity around us has the very same problem, and certainly glad that we're addressing, because I've had many, many complaints about, how do you do that? We've got a broken system, right now, as far as on both ends of it, whether you're the one that has been accused of the nuisance complaint or the, or the enforcement part of it too. It's just not, and there's, as Jeff said, there's no teeth in it, what we have, you can't really go out and enforce it because, there's, even if you have zoning, Calvert City and Benton have zoning, and they've got very little, teeth in theirs, even with the zoning ordinances and so forth, and you just don't have the tools to work with. You need to enforce anything's better than what we got. We're moving in the right direction.
And it should help free up too, the sheriff's office. I know he mentioned that it's a lot of stuff that comes into his office, so that should help free up some of the time there. So we'll do that.
Yeah, the system that we have to operate under now is based strictly on complaints coming in. And that always that's one of the things that gives me a concern about a challenge to it. So that with the way it'll work now with the code enforcement officer, it'll be more, it won't be just based on complaints. It'll be based on standards that apply the same to everybody.
Right.
Which is going to be a nightmare in the beginning because there are so many problems.
All right. Let's move on. We don't need a motion to have Jason do that, do we? Okay. Let's move on to new business ordinance 2016-06, the administrative code, first reading. Brad, do you want to? Yeah.
This Marshall County ordinance number 2016-006, ordinance establishing an administrative code for the Marshall County Fiscal Court. Be it ordained that the Marshall County Fiscal Court, Section 1, the General Assembly of the Commonwealth of Kentucky enacted KRS 68.005 in 1978 for the purpose of promoting efficient administration of county government. KRS 68.005 requires the fiscal court to adopt an administrative code which includes, but is not limited to, procedures and designation of responsibility for the following. 1, general administration of the office of the county judge executive, hereinafter county judge, county administrative agencies and public authorities. 2, administration of county fiscal affairs, including budget formulations, receipt and disbursement of county funds, preparation of records required for the county audit and for filing of claims against the county. 3, personnel administration, including description and classification of non-elected positions, selection, assignment, supervision, and discipline of employees, employee complaints, and the county affirmative action program. 4, county purchasing and award of contracts. 5, delivery of county services. County judge, as the chief executive officer of the county, is responsible for the organization and management of the administrative functions of county government. The fiscal court sets the county's policies and priorities. The county judge must execute these policies and priorities. The state law provides only general guidance as to the form and substance of county's internal administrative organization. For this reason, the Marshall County Fiscal Court enacts the following county administrative code. Marshall County Fiscal Court does hereby establish a county administrative code dividing the administrative service of Marshall County into departments under the county judge, prescribing administrative policy and procedure, prescribing the function and duties of administrative units and officials of government, prescribing the administration of fiscal affairs and procurement procedures, and prescribing for the delivery of county services. Section 2, all constitutional officers may create an administrative code specifically for their office. This code must be submitted to the Office of County Judge Executive every June and reviewed on an annual basis. Any changes to this code must also be submitted to the Office of County Judge Executive at the time the change was made. All employees of the office must also be notified of the change, and written proof of receipt must be maintained in the employee's personnel file. If a constitutional officer decides not to adopt a specific code for their office, that office shall adopt this code and follow the policies and procedures herein. Section 3. Provisions of this ordinance are severable, and if any provisions or part thereof shall be held invalid or unconstitutional or inapplicable to any person or circumstance, such invalidity, unconstitutionality, or inapplicability shall not affect or impair the remaining provision of this ordinance. The foregoing ordinance was first read on this 7th day of June 2016, and that's the first
That
reading.
is the summary.
That's the
That's
summary.
summary.
Yeah, there's 95 pages preceding this.
So that was the first reading. We'll move on with the new business, approve the appropriations transfer report.
You have a lengthy 3-page list of appropriation transfers. These are to clean up part of my year-end housekeeping. Some of them are at the department's request. Some of them are ones that I have worked on. The ones that are coming out of reserves are highlighted in yellow for you, and then at the bottom, it gives you an updated amount of reserves following all those transfers. They do total out to be 0, as they should be. I will just need approval to make those transfers.
Emily, those reserves, is that what we have in reserves right now?
Following this is being approved, yes.
After what?
Following this approval, yes.
Motion to approve the budget appropriation transfers.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, approve the intra-fund transfer.
As I have 3 that are budgeted subsidy transfers, occupational tax to jail fund, $125,000, occupational tax to the general fund, $425,000, occupational tax to the road fund, $950,000. This gives us the amounts that we're going to need to pay the upcoming bills this month and set us up for the carryover that we have anticipated in next year's budget. One unbudgeted subsidy is another $50,000 to 911. I'd mentioned in a prior workshop that that's probably going to need to be the case. They could balance out. They would not be over budget. However, for us to start off with a cash forward amount for them to be able to survive for the first 2 weeks of July, we need this $50,000 in there. And the lastly is moving ABC funds to the general fund for reimbursement. This is for reimbursement of salaries and the vehicle that have been coming out that have came out of general fund up until this point, because we hadn't, in the beginning, we didn't have funds to pay those. So this is recouping those funds to the general fund.
Motion to approve the inter-fund transfers.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, approve the treasurer's report.
As of May 31st, 2016, the general fund has a book balance of $412,589.99. The road fund, $73,950.43. Jail fund, $51,067.28. Grant fund, $1,161.38. 911 fund, $16,907.32. Occupational tax administrator, $4,469,528.29. Veterans Van Fund, $3,875.66. ABC Fund, $70,982.71. Building Inspection Fund, $34,207.88, for a total reporting funds of $5,134,270.94.
Motion to accept the treasurer's report, subject to audit.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Approve payment of the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries.